Can you tell me how the part of Reinhardt came about?
Yes, well, the first thing that I knew about it was that I was asked to go and see the producer, Gerard Glaister, and then having been offered the part and been delighted to be offered it, I then was quite curious to know why or how that had happened, and I discovered somewhat later that in fact it happened through a fellow actor who in the series I was supposed to hate, and that was Clifford Rose, who played Kessler, and he'd put my name forward as suggested as a replacement for Michael Culver, who had left the series having played Brunt, and they needed this new storyline with this new character who would be antagonistic to Kessler, and yeah, so thank you, Clifford Rose. It was his idea. We'd worked together at the RSC, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and we knew each other quite well, and for some reason he thought I might be a good idea and had put my name forward.
Was it daunting as well as exciting to be asked to join an established and successful series?
I don't think I found it daunting. I found it quite a challenge and very exciting. I mean, it's very nice to be asked to work anyway as an actor. Sometimes it's quite a surprise when the phone rings and someone says to you, would you come and do this? I didn't find it daunting. I found it absolutely fascinating to do, because I thought the writing was so good and the character was laid out for me so clearly that I felt most of the work was done for me. I didn't have to invent, I didn't have to think, what kind of character is this? It was there, it was written that way, and I was delighted by that.
Reinhardt comes across as an incredibly complex character. Was this something that struck you as soon as you read the scripts?
Yes, yes. You know how, with those Second World War dramas, the thought is that most Germans were Nazis and nasty, and all the Brits were goodies. And here was a character that was complex, as you say, and was not a nasty. He had his tough side, he had his warm side, and of course he was a complicated man. He'd got a history, which was something which immediately was attractive to me as an actor to delve into.
Did you enjoy those scenes in which Reinhardt sparred with Kessler?
Oh yes, of course. That's of course. I mean, any actor would likes to have scenes to play where there's antagonism to act. Yes, absolutely. And the added spice to it was that, in fact, Clifford Rose and I were great buddies, great mates, and so it was quite fun to be able to play hating each other's guts.
Do you have any memories of the location filming?
Well, yes, I do remember. We used to have to go to Belgium. We had to go to Brussels quite a few times to shoot, and nothing better than to be paid to go on a trip abroad, not have to pay your own fares, and I suppose that's a little bit simplistic, but yes, of course, it's lovely to travel, and it's lovely to go to different cultures, different places, and but I don't have particular memories of anything. I mean, any specifically odd things that happened out there. One just did one's work in a different location, and but it was pleasant to finish your day and then go and have a slightly different sort of meal. Good Belgian cooking.
Given its often disturbing and distressing subject matter, did you ever feel uncomfortable about any aspect of the series?
I think I did for a while. I think I questioned whether we were treating as entertainment a subject which was still immensely serious. There were still a lot of people around, still are, but in 1979 an enormous number of people who had lived through the war, the Second World War, and perhaps had doubts about whether we should treat this serious subject in a kind of popular drama way. I don't feel like that now. And it's not just because a send-up series called Allo Allo followed us and got its laughs. We were dealing with a serious business, but of bringing it in popular drama to people. And I don't think we treated it in a cavalier or a superficial way. In fact, having looked at some of the episodes again recently, I think I've become quite happy to think that we didn't do the wrong thing with it.
How did you feel about Reinhardt's exit from the series?
Ah, yes, the exit, which caused a lot of controversy at the time. Am I allowed to say how he died? Well, of course, Kessler has him put on trial and is shot within a Canadian prison camp. Now, people said this would never have happened. Germans would never have been allowed to shoot one of their own men after what they would call a kangaroo court inside the prison camp. But it was based on a true happening. So we were able to say, look at the history of the war. It did happen. At the end of toward the end of the Second World War, 2 German deserters gave themselves up to the Canadians, and they were put in a Canadian prison camp, they thought, that's the end of the war, lovely, it's over, we can give ourselves up. And they were put on trial by their own people. The Canadians, guards, had to give the Germans some guns, and they executed these 2 young men. Very sad, but it happened.
Was Secret Army a happy show to work on?
Yes, immensely so. It was a very splendid team. As you mentioned, I went in on the 3rd series, having not been in the first 2, of course. And it was well established, but there was a wonderfully generous greeting and acceptance of me, and which made it immensely comfortable to just go straight into. Yes, and I enjoyed it very much, and there were a splendid team of other actors there.
Do you think the series still stands up today?
I have to say I do. Of course, styles have changed. The way you shoot series now is different. But what impresses me is that scenes were given time to breathe and develop. Characters and relationships were given time to develop and expand. And I find that riveting. But then maybe that's just me. I don't know. I hope that other people would respond the same way. There was very little overlaying of atmospheric music to underline what was going on. It was mostly in the writing and the acting and in the time that scenes were given to develop. And I think I'd like a little more of that old-fashioned virtue in drama today. I'm afraid cut, the filmic way of doing things is perhaps not quite to my taste anymore. But I'm a little older than I was in those days.
How does it feel talking about a character you played many years ago?
When I see my own image up there, I don't recognize it as me. It is somebody different. It's rather a long time ago when I did it, in 1979. And we all change in many ways. And I'm more objective than I was when I saw them originally. I mean, I remember looking and thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't realise I looked like that, and I moved like that, and I spoke like that. It's awful, and I couldn't look at it, I couldn't see it objectively. Now I can and think, well, that was all right, that worked, and no, I don't think I would have done it like that if it were now. And I can be a little bit more objective than I was, but it's still, I think it sort of worked.
You're now probably best known as the Demon Headmaster. Do you enjoy this recognition, or would you prefer to be remembered for characters like Reinhardt?
I'd like to be remembered for both. I have no objection to being recognised and as the Demon Headmaster. That was another series which was very important for me, of course. And not just because people were recognising me and going, ah! Especially the kids. No, not the kids. The kids were never frightened of me. They just thought I was a pantomime villain, which indeed I was. It was the parents which were a little bit who were more frightened. No, of course not. I mean, thank goodness that one is, I was going to say appreciated, at least recognised and thought and told sometimes, well, that was worth watching. We had quite a large clientele, I should say. You know, we had a lot of people watched us for that, and they weren't just children. Millions used to tune in to watch that at tea time, and I think the majority were grown-ups.
Does Reinhardt still figure among your favourite roles?
Yes, it does. I suppose that you can say, most actors would say, there are a certain number of parts in one's life, if one's lucky to have had them, which will stick in the mind, they're part of your history. And yes, of course, that was one very important time in my life and in my career. And the Demon Headmaster has been another one in later years, when I have a little more snow on top.
Terence Hardiman, thank you.
Thank you.